Hey everybody, what's up? How are you? Nick Gumpert here with Remax Top Producers, here with this month's edition of How's the Real Estate Market. We are in June 2022. So without further any ado, let's go ahead and take a look and jump into the national spotlight and see what's going on there. It's all about the mortgage rates, right? They're hiking, they're going up. It doesn't seem to be any end in sight. I'm here to tell you things are starting to level off and moderate. Does that mean they won't continue to go up further? No. Has the Fed said they will? Yes. But nonetheless, we are expecting that they won't increase as quickly as they have here in the first 6 months of 2022. So there's some objective information for you to see how much have they climbed to date. This is as of 6/2. They have had a little bit of an increase again. But again, we're not expecting them to increase as quickly over the same amount of time to see the second half of this 2022 part of the year. So time will tell, of course. Nonetheless, that helps those you know and those you trust within this real estate space to have an idea as to what things look like versus trying to explain things all the time. Sometimes it's hard to visualize words, right? So I want to paint some pictures here as we go through the national spotlight for you pertaining to the mortgage rate space. Let's look at what we've done before. I've shared this graph before, want to share it again because context is important. What is high? Right? What is a high interest rate? Well, again, it's relative. I understand, well, Nick, we've never seen housing prices this high. I get that. Nonetheless, we have seen them higher, right? And it's important to know where we've been. With that being said, those of you that are first-time home buyers, or those of you that know first-time home buyers, you've never seen rates this high, right? Because in the 2010s, the average was in around 4%. And now we're above 5% and even getting into the 6%. So again, new norms, new things to be discussing. But just remember, for those of you looking to get into a home this year or next year, you don't get approved based on your interest rate. You get approved based on what you can afford on a monthly rate. So things to be mindful of and not letting mortgage rates scare you off. Because one thing that I was reminded of from a friend that's in the lending space recently, you can't refinance a home you don't own. Right? Let me repeat that. You cannot refinance a home that you do not own. Okay? So again, current mortgage rates, yes, they're a bit higher than what we've seen in the last decade. Nonetheless, they're not at a point that we've never seen before. Right? So just be mindful of where we've been as we continue to move forward here into this second half of 2022. Perfect versus an expert. What I want to remind everybody when you're getting information, you're not looking to get perfect advice. You're looking to get expert advice. What I mean by that is when you go to the doctor, right, you're not expecting them to knock it out of the park and be perfect, right? They're going to give you their best educated guess based on circumstances, based on situations, based on whatever you may be experiencing or your loved one may be experiencing. They're going to give you their expert advice on that situation, right? Dentist, same thing. He sees this in your mouth and he sees this going on in your gums. He's going to give you his expert advice and let you know how he would solve it, how he would recommend to solve it. I'm no different. I'm not looking to give you perfect real estate advice, nor is any real estate agent or lender or anybody working in this space on a regular basis. We're looking to give you expert advice, give you as much objective information because it's important. How do we form our opinions? Are they based upon facts? Right? And do facts tell the story of where we'll be 5 years from now? Not necessarily, but it'll be a much better indication than fear, than an opinion that we just heard on the radio that really has no merit, right? So just be mindful. That's what I feel is my responsibility, is to help you make good real estate decisions. So just wanted to share that piece of it because sometimes those of us working in the industry get knocked for not having perfect advice, right? But that's not realistic. So I think it's important as we navigate this space and see new norms forming. And where are we, again, getting educated when it comes to that information? Are we in a housing market correction? Well, with that question posed, let's first understand what a correction is. A correction is a decline of 10% or greater in the price of a security, asset, or financial market. Here's what experts are forecasting home prices to do in 2022. We're expecting to see nationally an appreciation of 9%. That is decelerating from our current 17-ish% that many and most homes saw in and around the country, specifically in California, I should say. And so we're going to decelerate from those very high numbers that we saw for the last 2 years. We are not expecting to depreciate, meaning lose value. Those are two different D words that I think are very important that we'll come back to here later in this monthly market update for you. The housing market is at a turning point. We're starting to see signs of a new direction, but the ball is still in sellers' courts in most housing markets. And we'll see again as we move through California and the San Gabriel Valley, you're going to see we're still seeing a lot of situations in the seller side of things. So again, overreacting is not a good place to navigate any market in, nor is panic, right? So I think a lot of people tend to overcorrect when times start to shift a little bit. So important, again, let's make sure we're getting all of the facts, not just a snippet of it. Existing home sales. Oh my gosh, we're declining year to year. Where are we going to be? And we're going into a recession. We're going back in look at 2 years. We're going back to what was normal in 2019, before our housing industry was affected and influenced so heavily by the Fed with low interest rates. What is this year where it's not affected in terms of cheap interest rates? And what do we look like in 2019? When COVID wasn't around, when the Fed wasn't influencing things as much, how do our sales stack up against that year? Because that year was still, I think, the strongest year we had in the 2010s decade, right? So how does 2022 stack up against that norm? I think something to consider. And you can see by this graph, we're still ahead of schedule when it comes to existing home sales and what we're projected to do for the year. And that's as of April 2022. So again, using objective data that we have so far and how we're expecting to see the year play itself out, we're not in a bad place, right? Average days on the market. Here's another interesting one from April 2022. National average days, 17, right? Things are still moving. Look at days on market, up to 15 days in the dark, right? 15 to 30 days in the dark blue. Look at who's at 100 days. Who's at 61 to 75? Who's at 46 to 60? There's not a state in the country that's where things are slowing down that much. Again, important to have objective information so we can create our opinions based on facts. Average number of offers, another indicator of, okay, is our market slowing down or not? 5.5 offers is the national average, right? Average number of offers received on sold homes, 5 or more. Look at 5 or more and how many states are still seeing 5 or more on average. 4, California fits the bill. Anybody have 1? Wyoming is the one outlier. Oh, sorry, Vermont is the second, right? So again, just because we might be seeing some headlines, be mindful of having the full scope of things. What's ahead? Nobody has a crystal ball, right? Again, this is an expert opinion, not a perfect opinion. But here's what I can tell you from the experts in the industry. Mortgage rates are likely to plateau near current levels. Doesn't mean they're not going to go up. We're just not expecting them to accelerate at the pace at which they did in the first 6 months. The financial markets have attempted to price in the impact of Fed actions over this cycle, and they are likely also pricing in the economic slowdown that will result. Once we are past this rate spike and associated volatility, MBA expects that potential home buyers may be more willing to re-enter the market. Right? So something to be mindful of from an expert in the field and what they're expecting to see as this year plays itself out. 2022 total home sales forecasts, you can see that there's a disparity, right? Why the disparity? Well, because of interest rates. Some of the experts in this field feel like interest rates are going to have peaked. And some said, you know what, they haven't peaked yet. So that's the reason for the disparity of this, because you're talking about millions here. 6.1 million homes sold by Fannie Mae is what their projection is. Freddie Mac's saying, no, I think it'll be as high as 6.9 million. So you've got an $800,000 or 800,000 homes difference here, right? But again, interest rates is going to play a role. because it takes some people out of the game, right? From an affordability standpoint, from their ability to borrow if they're not dealing with cash. So something important to be mindful of. But again, this is not a doomsday coming to us around the corner in terms of the amount of homes sold. We're still seeing a very healthy housing market take place. Experts don't believe the market is in a bubble or a crash is in the cards, like during the Great Recession. The nation is still suffering from a housing shortage that has reached crisis proportions at a time when many millennials are reaching the age when they start to consider home ownership. That's likely to keep prices high. That's from Realtor.com. Right? Why are we seeing such a shortage? Well, we have so many young individuals that are prioritizing now at this point in time and have been for the last couple of years. And they've come into this housing market, and it's infiltrated in kind of a perfect storm, if you will. Low supply, high demand, new generation coming in. It has helped create the dynamic that we currently see. What is a recession? A lot of talk on this topic of, well, a recession means housing prices come down. A recession is not necessarily a housing recession. I'll show you another graph here in the next one. But what is a recession? Well, the National Bureau of Economic Research defines a recession as this. It's a significant decline in economic activity, not housing activity, economic activity spread across the economy, lasting more than a few months, normally visible in real GDP, real income, employment, industrial production, and wholesale retail sales. Okay, so something to be mindful of. What is a recession? In no part of that definition does housing come into play to say that that's a norm. Here we go. Since 1980, we've had 6 recessions. And out of those 6 recessions, we've seen home appreciation in 4 of them. Right? You have the mid-2000s that unfortunately we saw a lot of houses lose value. You have another example in the early 90s, lost less than 2% in value. But 4 out of the 6 gained value, right? So something to be mindful of what have housing prices historically done. And again, I think this paints a very good picture to keep in mind. And again, feel free to share this with friends, with family that maybe are doomsdayers that say, oh, if we have a recession, housing prices are totally going to drop. Hold on. Let's take a look to see what things have done in our recent history. If you're looking to buy a home, I would still recommend you do so even at the higher interest rates, because we have no reason to believe that home prices will stop appreciating. Home values going up is only a problem when you're trying to buy, right? When you own, it's a gift. That's that reality, right? So I've shared appreciation, what homes have appreciated since 1991, since 2002 in some graphs, since 1945 in other graphs, in other market updates. So feel free to go back to those to see what the information I've shared, because there's not one person since 1991 specifically. Let's look at the most recent decades. Since 1991, there's not one person in the United States of America that's owned a home for that long that's lost money. That's just facts being facts, right? So go back, see some old slides if you want to take the time to. But again, important to know, we don't anticipate home prices to depreciate anytime soon. Let's look at the state spotlight. In state, again, I reside in California, so that's the state we're going to discuss here. New record high. We had a record high if you were with me last month. Well, we have a new record high this month, and it's $898,980. That's the average cost of a single-family home in California. Last month, it was a new record at that time of $884,000+, right? And in May 2021, it was $818,000. So that's where we're still going. That's not my opinion. That's the facts being the facts. Average days on market, 9 days. Average days on market a year ago, 11 days. Things are still moving, guys. If you're a prospective buyer, make sure you know what you're doing and how quickly things are moving. Otherwise, you're still seeing things come on. If they're priced right, they're going off real quick, right? Consecutive months that at least 50% of homes sold over list price. We've now reached 21 straight months, and we had about 69, almost 70% that sold over list price in California in May 2022. Okay, that's what competitive looks like, right? Monthly inventory levels. I wanted to share, dating back to November 2021, inventory levels. You can see that graph on the left shows you what a neutral market is, meaning it's not a buyer's market, it's not a seller's market, right? In California, we're in around 2 months right now, and that's up, as you can see, since February, but we're nowhere near a neutral housing market, which, again, I want to stress the importance for those of you thinking, is it a good time to sell? Absolutely, it's a good time to sell. Why? Inventory is so low. What does that mean? There's not as many options available. Still, even though you might hear in the national news, inventory is going up, it is, but it's not going up significantly, okay? And if it's priced right, you're not going to be on the market long, and that's just reality and the facts being the facts, okay? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. I've shared this graph and saved it because I think it's important to look at. I worked some numbers here. $802,000 is the average price of a home in the LA metro area in the month of May 2022. So I used an $802,000 example here. If you got a 5.5 interest rate, which isn't normal, is normal, is not uncommon, I should say, $4,400 payment, $4,400 plus dollar payment, and that's just including your interest rate and your principal payment. Okay, that's not including property tax, etc. Right? If interest rates bump up to 7%, you can see the difference there is $800-ish, right? Things to be mindful of. Buy when rates are low, not just when prices are low. You can see here how rates affect your monthly payment and by how much in this example. Again, this is the average price of a home in the LA metro area currently to date. Just gives you a different number to work off of. This is an interest rate you could have got, coulda, woulda, shoulda got in 2021 if you were thinking about buying at that time, and now this is where you see yourself. Different price point, you see the difference. But here's the real kicker. The difference in the life of the loan. Over 30 years, if you kept that interest rate of 6% versus 2.75, that's the cold hard facts. You're paying almost $500,000 more simply with the interest rate fluctuating by that percentage. So my job is not to tell you what to do, only to show you what happens if you choose not to do it. Just giving you the facts being what they are. Again, educate, whether it's yourself. If you can share this with other people that you know, I'm happy to help as best I can, wherever I can. So prospective buyers, what do you need to know? You need to know pre-approval before you start looking. Otherwise, you're creating a lot of false hope for yourself and wasting time, to be honest. Again, houses are moving. They're not staying on the market for, on average, over a month, 2 months, right? They're just not going to be there that long if they're priced well and they have a lot of amenities to them and they're in good condition, right? Know what your budget is. Be prepared to move quick. What will you do if there's a mismatch in price? What happens if you're pre-approved for $800,000, but that home you really want is listed at $780 and that price gets put up to $805? Do you have a friend or family member that can come in on the back end to help? If not, and you say, I don't have that help, well, are you willing to drive a little bit farther to get into that price point? Or are you willing to give something up? You're just like, I really want that in a home, but not going to be able to get it based on what I know and what the market's doing, right? Those are decisions you have to make based on your individual scenario. And understand that an individual home price being lowered does not equal all home prices coming down. Had this discussion just recently, actually, with a prospective buyer, and it was about this exact thing. He said, Nick, I've seen a lot of home prices come down. He said, you'll see some. And with that being said, just be mindful, does that affect you? Because if your price range looking for a home is between $900,000 and $1.1 million, right? If that's, that's your comfort level with a monthly payment, and homes are coming down maybe in price because it was listed at 2.7 and now it's at 2.55. Doesn't matter, does it? Different price point, different home. So again, be mindful and be knowledgeable about what the housing industry is. And maybe it's not you being knowledgeable, it's leaning on individuals like myself as a real estate agent who should know what the local market is doing and at what price points, so you're well educated, making informed decisions, not just guessing and assuming and getting upset when that's not the case. right? So lean on professionals in their industry to help guide you. Let's segue into the local spotlight. Again, San Gabriel Valley is where I service predominantly. You can pause this and look through this on your own, but I always give you updated information from the prior months, averages, what was on market, the median price within these certain areas of the San Gabriel Valley. So you can do that on your own time here. Not going to dig into numbers right now on this one. Homes sold so far in June 22 versus this time in May 22. There again, you can pause it at your own accord to go through the homes sold, townhomes sold, see what disparities you might see how some things may be slowing down, some price points might be picking up, because I track, remember, from 500,000 to 1.5 million. That's my little window that I like to track on a daily basis for you out there, for those of you out there, whether it be condos, townhomes, or homes. And that slide concludes the condos. Okay. So last but not least, I want to stress this again because I stressed it a few slides back. Deceleration in home appreciation does not equal depreciation. Just because homes are expected to appreciate in around 9 to 10% this year, last year was at over 15% for a lot of the country. So that means we decelerated. That does not mean depreciated. Depreciate means if homes are all valued at, let's pretend 500,000 and now they're worth 480,000, that's depreciation. Okay. But homes are still appreciating, just not as fast, which again is healthy. And what's one way to slow down that appreciation for prospective home buyers is by raising interest rates, right? That's one way to slow down home appreciation. And we're seeing that right now. So these higher interest rates, the silver lining of them is really that it's slowing down that home appreciation for prospective home buyers. So just be mindful of that as you're navigating your individual spaces. Here's some objective information again for you guys. June 1 to June 19, 2022, I tracked homes, condos, townhomes sold through the San Gabriel Valley as a whole. Well, I'm sorry, for the cities that I specifically track. And again, you can go in prior slides to see what cities those are. But over 73% have sold over list price. So for those of you that have said, well, I hear that all these homes are dropping their prices. Yeah, 19% of them have, but not 73% of them. So again, know what your market's doing, know what your local market's doing, because the NBCs, the ABCs, some of those news channels give you the bigger scope of the whole country, and that doesn't speak to Southern California. So again, just be mindful of where you're pulling your information and making sure it's as accurate as possible. Everybody out there, I have summer buyer and seller guides for those of you that may be thinking about it, right? Just know they're now available. You can email me. There's my email right there. I have free, let me repeat that, free online home buyer seminar, July 5. It's via Zoom. I also have an online seller seminar, Tuesday, August 4 via Zoom. Again, these are free. The online home buyer, it doesn't matter if you're a first-time home buyer or buying your third, fourth home. Here's what you can expect out of that one. I go through the contract that all of you home buyers sign. So some of you might be like, I don't even know what I signed. Well, that's a big thing that I'm going to focus on in that home buyer seminar is what are contingencies? What does it mean if I want to waive my contingencies? I hear a lot of people talk about I need to waive my contingencies, but what's on the flip side of that? Why wouldn't I? I talk about the 5 points of negotiation. What are they? And they're the same regardless of what market conditions are, everybody. Right? It's going to be the same 5 negotiating points, whether you're a buyer or a seller. So for the online seller seminar, I go through some of those pieces again, 5 negotiating points. What are they when you're on that side of the fence, and how to best navigate them, and give you some points and pieces of advice. I also have lenders sitting on these and financial advisors. So they're there to inform you. They're there to inform your family. They're there to inform your friends. So feel free to drop on. Again, there's the link for that. And I have that coming up July 5th, and then the seller one coming up August 4th. There's my goal, guys, to help you build a happier, more proud, and accomplished version of yourself through real estate. There's my website, realgump365.com. Guys, if this was helpful to you in any shape, way, or form, if you would just quickly tap that like button, type subscribe, because I do this on a monthly basis for you, not for me. And yeah, I'm here for you guys. Comment, let me know what you think of this. Feel free again to share it with family, friends, whoever can benefit from it. My name's Nick Gumpert with Remax Top Producers, servicing the San Gabriel Valley here in Southern California. Reach out if I can help in any way, guys. Hopefully we'll talk soon. Have a good one.